What really caused a storm around Diana Dors' young bikini photos, and why did a simple image trigger outrage that followed her for years? At first glance, it sounds like just another vintage Hollywood controversy, but when you dig deeper, you uncover something far more revealing about fame, morality, and how quickly a woman in the spotlight can become a target for public judgment. Because this isn't just about photographs. It's about a culture that was never fully ready for her confidence. To understand it, you have to step back into post-war Britain, a time when society was still tightly wrapped in conservative expectations. Diana Dors wasn't just an actress. She was a symbol of rebellion wrapped in glamour. Often called Britain's answer to Marilyn Monroe, she carried a boldness that didn't always sit comfortably with the standards of her time. So when images of her in swimwear began circulating, especially early in her career, they didn't just attract attention. They sparked debate about what was considered acceptable for a woman in the public eye. But here's what most people never stop to ask. Why did confidence in her own skin become a scandal in the first place? Diana wasn't breaking any laws, yet she was being judged as if she had crossed a moral line. The truth is, the outrage said more about society than it did about her. In fact, behind the headlines, she was carefully navigating an industry that demanded beauty but punished boldness at the same time. That contradiction shaped much of her early career and the way she was portrayed in the media. As her fame grew, so did the scrutiny. Every photo shoot, every public appearance, even her personal choices were dissected. And while the public saw glamour, few saw the pressure building behind the scenes. Diana worked relentlessly to be taken seriously as an actress, not just a pin-up figure, even appearing in dramatic roles that showcased her emotional range. Yet the media often pulled her back into the same narrow label, as if she could never escape it. The real emotional conflict came when those early bikini images were repeatedly resurfaced and reinterpreted by tabloids looking for shock value. Each time they reappeared, they were stripped of context, turned into controversy, and used to fuel outrage cycles. But what gets lost in that cycle is the human being behind the image, a young woman navigating fame in an era that didn't know how to handle female independence without judgment. And yet, Diana Dors endured it all. She reinvented herself more than once, surviving career highs and lows, public criticism, and personal struggles that never made it into the sensational headlines. Her story becomes less about scandal and more about resilience, the ability to exist in a world that constantly tried to define her before she could define herself. In the end, the lesson is unsettling but important. Outrage often reveals more about the audience than the subject. Diana Dors didn't change who she was to fit approval, and maybe that's why she's still remembered. Because beyond the noise, beyond the controversy, there was a woman who refused to shrink herself for comfort. And perhaps the real question left for you is simple. When history looks back at today's viral outrage, what will it say about us?